wow, and a guitar note, and then progressive, and all. Yeah, it's gonna be good.
Hey, Hal, did you mean something like this?
This is the House Bar Show, wow, and a guitar note, and then progressive, and all. Yeah, it's gonna be good.
The Hal Sparks radio program, mega worldwide.
Yeah, it's going to be good. Welcome back to the show. I was just looking at the news that's coming out about the 9/11 call that happened after the shooting on the set of Rust, the Alec Baldwin movie, about the assistant director handing him a loaded gun, like an actual gun, which is like or with rounds in it. I mean, there's still details to be coming out or whatever, but there was apparently it was not. It was completely clear at that moment that this did not have to happen, and the person who was in charge of handing him the right one to use for the shot did not. That in and of itself is going to be horrifying. That's
a lot
where
of things are going to change again.
Yeah. For a time.
As you would figure after the Brandon Lee thing.
You would, and then you don't.
But that was what, late 80s?
Yeah, no, 90s.
That was 90s?
Yeah.
Okay.
And you know, we talked about this earlier, but John Eric Hexum was the guy who shot himself on the set of it was a spy show about models who were also spies.
And it was just like a gag, like he just pointed at
his own head and said that maybe this time I won't miss. He was joking around and he fired it, not realizing that the wadding of those things comes out at the velocity of a bullet, and it was right up against his head. I mean, there was no saving him. Apparently, in Brandon Lee's case, there was a piece of a round,
like shell or something.
Yeah, that it was. It was like a crescent moon shaped. It had been stuck inside the barrel and did not even, the gun that hit him wasn't even firing directly at him. It literally curved and struck him in the chest.
Poor kid.
I mean, because that's also the thing is there's a lot that they teach you, which is, you know, the camera can hide a lot. You don't have to point a gun at somebody to make it look like you're pointing it at somebody at all. It doesn't even have to be close. You know, it's like, you know, fight scenes.
Right.
There's a crossing of the line that you use in a lot of things where there's like a string between the lens and the target that's going to be hit. And as long as the fist passes through that line and the person moves at the right time, it will look like they were struck.
Yeah.
Yeah. All slow motion Rocky shots aside, which is a whole other thing that you're doing.
Yeah.
But the same thing is true with guns. There's no way you can tell the direction of the barrel within a certain range of it for visually at all. I don't
need to see it.
No,
I take your word for it.
Yeah, exactly. Right. And in situations where there's just lots of guns flying and blah blah, like in a movie like Heat, or if you're shooting something like Tombstone, these are different circumstances. The guns in Heat can be fake and have electrical charge making the muzzle flash. They can be fake entirely. And
what about like when you see the bullet holes following somebody? Are those just charges in the ground, or is that CGI?
Yeah, in some cases they're charges. In some cases they have like an air gun puncturing the glass from another angle. You'll see a lot of times when somebody runs past like the glass on a car, on the windshield specifically. It'll look like something shooting straight down into it.
Oh, I guess so.
That's because they're behind the person or whatever, and instead of it following them for real and passing by them, and they could get hit if they slowed down or were out of sync with it, or could get hit with glass coming the other direction, they'll fire a pneumatic like burst of air into the glass. And you can see which direction it's coming from. That's why they don't use it as much anymore. And a lot of that can be CG now. It's just not necessary. Yeah. It's so easy these days. So much of this can be solved digitally these days for nothing.
Yeah.
It is not even a circumstance anymore
of
where
not being able to afford, like, it doesn't take like
no. And especially when you're talking about what's the trade-off in safety? What's the trade-off in that? What are you getting for that expenditure?
What made this worth it? Yeah.
Right.
That poor woman's child.
It's not. It will never be worth it. No. That even the potential for that loss will never be worth it. No. And at a certain point, insurance companies are going to start looking at that. And like I said, there's an entire industry, if somebody wants to start this thing up, of artificial guns that look real, that are not guns that have been modified, but are just devices that expel a little bit of light and smoke out the front end and eject a cartridge, a fake empty cartridge that was never empty out the side or what have you. There's an industry to be made in that. Sure. And it's about time. So, and then of course we learned that Peter Scolari had passed from Bosom Buddies. Yeah, he passed away yesterday. Or the day before. They announced it yesterday. I believe he had had cancer and had been fighting it for a while.
He was looking more frail the last time I'd seen him.
Yeah. And an absolutely sweet person.
What a dude.
Yeah. So this is one of those things where this is a good example of we have enough problems without making any more.
Exactly. Yeah.
Life has these kind of things. You are not going to be able to sidestep all accidents and car accidents and tidal waves and typhoons and cyclones and
so why
earthquakes.
Storm into a bakery without a mask and a camera and
and
ruin somebody's day?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Why is that? Why is that a good expression of your and why is that an example of your superiority from a political standpoint or any other reason when you could be sitting at home curing cancer is the argument, or coming up with your own better mousetrap, unless of course you cannot. And it's all nonsense because again, I think I wrote this joke when we were in high school, the old master race. Oh yeah, tell you what, master reading and then get back to me. Was like
I don't remember that.
Yeah,
one.
that was when I was in high school. I found an old notebook from high school that had a bunch of jokes in it a while back. I was like, I have to show these to Johnny because it's a New Trier notebook.
Oh wow!
And the reality, and I think of the Trump fans is at some point they're going to have to recognize, and I guess this is true of all politically active people, but if you're gainfully employed and you have other stuff and this is also part of your activism, that would be one thing. But this idea that I don't know anybody on the hyper left that pushes the whole personally anyways, the Trump superiority complex, the idea that I'm better than everybody else, I know better than everybody else, I know everything about this kind of stuff, I know more about cancer than the cells do.
Pretty rare.
That kind of stuff. I know more about syphilis than my team of doctors, whatever his argument is. None of that. I don't see a lot of that. There's a lot of people that think you should know better. There's a lot of that kind of projection. Right. You'll hear that sometimes, that you should know better, even though I don't know what I'm talking about. You should know better. Yeah. That's the extremity of that. But at the root of it isn't that if I just stayed home, I could fix all these problems on my own. I just don't feel like it because you guys are dumb, which is what you get from the Trump world.
You guys are dumb. Yeah, exactly.
Right? And the Trump supporters have this kind of the racial superiority aspect of those crowd, the Tucker Carlsons of the world somehow magically think because they have magical whiteness that any attack on white supremacy is an attack on whiteness because they align normal white people with their beliefs about white supremacy. So you get dragged into their own racism, and then you're the human shield because of your skin color that they use to defend their awfulness, right? That's the Tucker methodology. That's how you get, that's where the white fragility, fear comes from, is that they're using people who are just on the road of being alive who happen to be white as cover for the fact that what they really mean is, they believe in the great replacement theory. They believe in racial superiority.
And I'm speaking for all of them.
That's right. Yes. Yeah. Right. And if you're attacking them, if you're attacking Tucker Carlson for what he says, or Nick Fuentes or any of those folks, you're attacking white people in general.
Nick Fuentes?
Yeah, he's one of the white supremacist guys who's always showing up at these events and stuff.
Oh, that's right. That's
right.
Yeah,
like Charlie Kirk and that crowd. It's to me, anyways. It's a fascinating dichotomy between, the extremists of both parties, and what it really boils down to is that there are certain ones, on the left where the extremism exists. There's some mild harm or fear of harm. On the right, there's some genuine, storm the castle, string them up, hang Mike Pence craziness that isn't in any way even as a point of balance. Do we have? Let's see. We got a
look, we got
look at this.
Steve from the
We got
Gold
Steve
Coast.
from the Gold Coast. I don't want to, but we're getting close. Can we take a break early and we'll come back and we'll take a couple of calls in our final little segment as well. And we'll be back right after this. It's the House Parks Radio program, Mega Worldwide on WCPT.